Hello cave dwellers and welcome to today's diary, and I've got some really important news for you today. Forget coronavirus, forget all that. This is about the most hotly discussed topic of our vlog so far. This is Biscuit News. Biscuit News, Biscuit News, Biscuit News, Biscuit News, Biscuit News, Biscuit News, Biscuit News. Yes, it's the issue that's dividing a nation, and thankfully Miss RMC sent me a message yesterday having watched our video, and she sent me an article from the Gov.uk website, last updated in 2018. It's to do with the HMRC's internal manual for VAT on food. That's value added tax if you're not in the UK, a 20% tax that goes on everything that we buy. It's titled Accepted Items Confectionery, the bounds of confectionery, sweets, chocolates, chocolate biscuits, cakes and biscuits. The borderline between cakes and biscuits. Yes, there is a wall between the two. And it goes on to say that the significance of the borderline between cakes and biscuits is that cakes are 0 rated when it comes to tax, even if they're covered in chocolate, whereas a biscuit is standard rated if it's wholly or partly covered in chocolate, or some product similar in taste and appearance. Now, there was a case between the government and United Biscuits where the Customs and Excise had accepted that since the start of VAT that Jaffa Cakes was 0 rated as cakes, but they always had misgivings about whether that was correct. And following a review, the department reversed its view on the liability. Jaffa Cakes were then ruled to be a biscuit, partly covered in chocolate. But United Biscuits weren't going to stand for that. They appealed the decision, and the tribunal listed the following factors in coming to their decision, which was: the product's name is a minor consideration, even though it has cake in the name. Jaffa Cakes were made of egg, flour and a sugar mixture which was air-rated, so it made it a bit like a sponge more than a biscuit. They did consider that Jaffa Cakes were more the size of a biscuit than a cake, and they were generally displayed on sale with biscuits, so we're in a fine balance here. Which way is it going to swing? As some of you pointed out in the comments, Jaffa Cake goes hard like a cake when it gets stale, rather than soft like a biscuit. Was this the deciding factor? And the sponge part of a Jaffa Cake is substantial in terms of the overall bulk of the product, and taking all factors into account, Jaffa Cakes had characteristics of both cakes and biscuits in the opinion of HMRC, but the tribunal thought that they had enough characteristics of a cake to be accepted as such, and they are therefore 0 rated when it comes to tax. It's official. End the discussion. Shut it down. Jaffa Cakes are officially a cake. It's right here. You can't dispute it. That is our biscuit news for today. If you've got anything to add, do leave it in the comments, but I'd like to think that's the end of the debate. Biscuit news. 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 I think that draws a line under it until we find whatever the next thing is that we need to put the world to rights over. Now, in the first episode, if you've been following these vlogs, episode, diary entry, whatever you want to call it, I picked out the Codemasters CD. Here it is. The Codemasters CD. And we were talking about the fact was this the first ever CD, never mind CD-ROM and yellow book standards and things like that because it's audio, but was this the first CD to have video games on it for a microcomputer? Not the PC Engine, because that came before it. It's a fine line, because it was between this and a video game called The Manhole, not Manhunt as I kept calling it. And Michael has sent in some information that might help us with this. He's found a newspaper clipping from, what's it from? It's from The Guardian in 1989. It's not conclusive, but it's tantalising, because in this clip, this is just from the news section of The Guardian in the 14th of December 1989. So we're into December, but it's November's news. It's looking back at November's news. And they say Compaq launches its first mini computer, the System Pro, and a desktop machine that will be use Intel's 486 chip. Nintendo claims victory over Atari Games in protracted Tetris rights case. And crucially, Codemasters packs 30 games onto CD, which with the appropriate 8-bit connectors will retail at £20. So that's November news. So did this come out in November? Was it even earlier than December? Or is that just a press release from Codemasters saying this is what we're going to do, and it didn't come out until December? We've still got to put a date on this to see if it can take the crown from the manhole. If you can find any information further than that, this is really useful, but I think we need something more conclusive. We need the date. Maybe we can find some information on the CD itself. I know it's audio, but I don't know if we can extract something that might be useful in telling us that. So that debate continues. Now, let's have another quick show and tell for today. I have been putting the word out to other people to ask if they want to do, say, a 90-second show and tell and send a video in. People like Mark fixes stuff. So hopefully they'll start to filter through in the coming weeks, and we can show you other people's caves and their thoughts and memories on particular things that they want to show you. Let's see what I can find on the shelves. Let's see what I can show you today. Okay, here's some cool boxes on the shelves that you don't often get to see over here. These are not big box PC games, but Sharp X68000 games. So this is the box that they came in. You know, you get the best of both worlds here, don't you? You've got that lovely styling from companies like Konami, or Konami, however you want to say it. You've got arcade video, arcade game ports that you wouldn't otherwise get on other microcomputers, or not, at least not official ones. They would be ported by other companies like, I don't know, US Gold and Codemasters and all of those. But these are proper ports of the arcade machines from the companies that made them. So they've got access to the assets, and some of the finest arcade ports going are on the Sharp 68000, as you would have seen if you saw the 68000 live stream that we did and the video on the machine. I do have one to repair. Let's zoom in a bit for you. So we will get to see more of it soon. But just look at the artwork on these discs. I think these are just glorious. There's not a huge amount in the way of a manual for this game, because this is parodious, just to shoot 'em up. You don't need too much backstory, but it is gloriously illustrated. Look at that. It's like a full-on comic book in there. I love the art. This is from 1990, at least the arcade is. Look at it. Small but perfectly formed. And it's got MIDI here because the 68000 supports external MIDI devices for the audio. It's just another world, isn't it? The way the Japanese did things for their market compared to the way we did things over here, in terms of the hardware and the way they presented the games like this. So that's a fun shoot 'em up. One that's caught my eye over here, I'll fix that later, is this Overtake. I did have a play on this on the live stream. It's kind of like Super Monaco GP, if you've ever played that, very similar to it. But again, for a home conversion, it's just a brilliant game. It's so much better than any home version of Monaco GP. And look at this. This is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 floppy disks on here. Data, opening 1, opening 2. Is that a 2-disc intro, maybe? Lovely shiny silver labels there. Yeah, just touching these makes me want to pull the 68000 down from the loft. It needs the PSU replacing. I think that's all I need to do on it, and it should work, but we'll find out when we take a closer look. But again, just glorious things to look at. And here's Twin B, very much like Parodius in its style, this one. And I love this. On Parodius, the hinges were broken here, but if we just flip this open, I think this one's good. There you go, you just open up the hinge. So you could put it on display like that with a transparent box. Open it up. Oh, we've got all sorts in here. We've got some kind of warranty card. Music catalogue. Let's see what's in this. I wonder if... It says these are CDs. So it looks like this is a catalogue of CD music that you can get for your favourite video games. Gradius. Got some Castlevania or Dracula X down there. Parodius soundtrack. What have we got on the other side? Lightning Force. Metal Gear 2. Is that what it is? Yeah, Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake. For the MSX. But it still says CD. I can't work out if these if these are soundtrack. If you can read Japanese, tell me what the hell are these. Are these soundtrack CDs? Are they MIDI discs? Don't know. Anyway, some more glorious, lovely, shiny artwork on those floppy disks. Probably the best looking 5 1/4 inch floppy disks in my collection. These actually came from Gary, who has an enviable Sharp 68,000 collection. He did the show and tell of his collection of exotic micros at his house. So thank you, Gary, for your generosity. I really must get round to playing them. So there we go. I know the Sharp 68,000 isn't a console, but you often get a crossover in the same games from the same companies for consoles. And with consoles, the boxes are lost so easily, you just end up with the cartridge half the time. So this seems like a really nice way to collect some of your favourite games, get the very best versions of them on a system that's so powerful that it can run them. But if you're going to be a collector, this is not a cheap road to go down. I can't tell you how much each of these costs. Maybe Gary can chip in, or Chrissy, who's a 68,000 collector, in the comments. But I am sorely tempted to start buying more of these because I'm a huge big box collector. I love big box games, you know, the traditional big box PC games like Gunship here. This has something about it. It's somewhere between a VHS box and a big box PC game, and I just love it. Fascinating. Let me know what you're into collecting, by the way. What is your thing at the moment? Are you trying to complete a Codemasters set, as the aforementioned Gary was? He's completed his Codemasters ZX Spectrum complete collection now, now that he got the last game that he was looking for. Are you a completionist? Are you trying to complete a set? Let me know. I'm going to try and get you some more show and tells, as I mentioned, in future chats. I hope you're all well. There's not much really changed on the COVID front here in the UK. We're still in lockdown. People seem to be taking it a bit more seriously now. And my commute to work, which I said in the previous episode, by the way, is completely in isolation. It's just door to door. So I think I'm doing the safe and right thing at the moment. Is very quiet. I'm only seeing tradesmen and emergency vehicles at the moment. I live out in the countryside, so it may well be different in the city, but here people seem to be adhering to it, and it's very quiet. And I've forgotten my lunch again, and I'm not it's not responsible for me to go to the shop just to get lunch. We're supposed to do a weekly shop once a week at the moment, so it's going to be a case of starving again today. But I'll get through it. There are people with worse problems than me forgetting my packed lunch at the moment. Anyway, take care, everyone. See you tomorrow, and look out for each other. Bye-bye.